Due to possible harmful extremist content, parental discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. The views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of the station, its affiliates, or advertisers. The use of the show is only allowed with the express written permission of the producer and the host. So get ready for 2 hours of the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show starting right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show, Wednesday night edition for May 6, 2026. And since it is the first Wednesday of the month, I always send an invitation out to my good friend Brent Hamachek from Human Events to come on over and join us and talk about what's going on in the world. Brent, how you doing tonight?
I couldn't be any better. I'm ready for us to do a little role playing this month, which you'll fill everybody in on. And we're going to reverse the roles of Christians and lions here on the show. So it'll be fun.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had you on, I think, for about 4 years now. I look back, it was May 2022 when I first had you on. So that's, almost, 48 months, an hour a month, 48 hours that you and I have spent one-on-one talking to each other. So in that time, we've gotten to know each other pretty well. Yep. And I've always been at the interviewer, and you've always been the interviewee. So I thought this week it'd be interesting to flip things around and have you interview me. And as I said in my email to you, hold my feet to the fire.
All right. Well, we'll try to escape medieval forms of torture. And we'll avoid that as best we can. And I'm going to presume going in that you're not a witch, so I'm not going to do any of those great tests. By the way, your audience might be fascinated to know that one of the tests they used to see if women were witches back in those days was to actually cut off one of their arms. And if they bled to death, they were not a witch. But if the arm didn't really bleed, that meant they were a witch, in which case then they would be killed. So it's kind of like tossing a two-headed coin. Head you lose, and head you lose, because there was really no way to win.
I don't know, though, man. If you cut a woman's arm off and it doesn't bleed and it just, she's fine and it starts growing back, you got a witch.
Well, and another fun one they did is they tied them to a chair and dunked them underwater. And if they drowned during the dunking process, that meant they weren't a witch. It also meant that they were dead. If they did not drown, then they were a witch, and then they killed them. So it seems the theme in all that was to try to find an excuse to kill somebody. So we'll be merciful on you during this hour, and there'll be no tests for witchcraft.
Well, thank you for
that. You're welcome. So let's start with current events here, and of course it's interesting because you do this show every week, a couple times a week. I'm only here once a month, and so these days a lot happens in a month. So in this month we had the Supreme Court ruling on what's commonly referred to as gerrymandering. It's really a hard G, not a soft. It's gerrymandering, named for a cohort of one of our presidents, President Adams. There's great history there to look up if people are interested. But we had that ruling directly related to a case brought out of Louisiana. And then last night, to skip ahead right to the headlines, we had a primary in Indiana where 8 different Republicans running. There were 6 that Trump endorsed to replace incumbents. 5 of the 6 won in the primary and defeated the incumbent. And the entire reason that he had supported them was because those other Republicans had not supported his demand that Indiana redraw its map. So with that as a backdrop, I want you to talk about your thoughts on the Supreme Court ruling, on what happened in Indiana and what it might or might not actually mean, and where are we going as a nation with this sort of Hatfield and McCoy thing over redistricting and drawing lines to get desired outcomes?
Well, that's a great question, and I want to jump into Indiana first. And yeah, it was a rhino bloodbath. All the people that sided with the Democrats to not redistrict when there was a clear, Republican majority in the state, they all got primaried. And so Trump is here today asking, "Who's your daddy?" Right? Who's yours? Who's your daddy? I don't know. It's better.
Oh God. Okay.
It works better in print, but yeah.
Yeah. Where's the gong like they used to have on the old Gong show? You're too young to remember that. But keep going.
Well, the issue in the case, if I understand it correctly from the Supreme Court, it was really about racial gerrymandering. In other words, making districts based purely on race to therefore segregate them from Democrat and Republican. Ultimately the same result, but using race to get there. And I have to agree with it. If you're using race as a primary, factor for determining the outline of these districts that, the one in Louisiana looked like a dragon or a snake that wound its way up through the middle of the state. No natural outcome would lead you to a district that looks like that. Illinois, your home state, has several as well that look ridiculous. You look at the map and you say, who would make a district like this? They should be succinct. They should be kind of roundish or squarish. They should all kind of fit together. They should look like they make sense. They shouldn't just be strictly done based on race, which is what was at issue here. And now there are many, many, many districts across the country in all kinds of states that were clearly done with race as the core indicator as to why and where they would draw these boundaries. So this is going to flip. There's a lot of people that have been wondering, why doesn't Donald Trump seem to worry too much about the midterms? And, now they're saying, yeah, he was playing 4D chess the whole time. And this is the strategy because now they're going to go in last minute and redraw a lot of different states from the ground up. And it could push, what is the number, Brent, like 30? A swing of, 15 from one side to the other. So an additional 30 seats that could be won here, which would just lock this down for years to come if they're able to accomplish that. And I don't know if that's the case or not, but we're going to find out really quick. And I always like to kind of take these things with a grain of salt and report on what's actually happening. Say the Supreme Court ruled this. Now some states are moving forward. And then when I see 10, 15 states all moving at the same time to redistrict and set, everything back to some semblance of normality or common sense in their districting, then I will get excited and I will start saying, hey, there's a chance that this could be a huge game changer for November's elections and the midterms. And if that all comes to fruition, then Trump will comfortably win, the House. This won't affect the Senate, of course, but it'll affect the House in a big way. And he could very, very, very easily win the House by a good margin. And quite frankly, keep it there for a long time to come. It's the closest to the people, and it has elections every 2 years and the whole House is up. So yeah, it's a different matter than the Senate. The Senate, is just it's just basically each state puts two people up and the whole state. There's no jurisdictions. There's no gerrymandering. There's none of that. Unless you want to look at, the way, I don't know, Idaho cuts up into Wyoming and steals some of their, if that was gerrymandered, I don't know. I think they just use the Continental Divide, but you get my point. It's harder to do that with state borders than it is with congressional districts inside a state. So I don't know. I guess I would look at it like that, and I wouldn't put too much hope into it until I start seeing this actually happening on the ground, one step at a time, so to speak.
All right. Well, I think we're more likely to see changes from it in the 2028 election than we are this year. The die being cast in most states already. And it would be extraordinarily problematic and run into some quite fantastic legal challenges if any state tried to, anything they try to change between now and the election in a state that's already had primaries, it's kind of effectively impossible, because what you're doing is nullifying the votes of the people that voted, in a sense. And I think that would be quite easily challenged. I don't think it will happen. For that reason, it would be a pretty easy challenge. But it will be, certainly it'll be interesting for 2028. I'm wondering what your thoughts are about reaction to this from the other side. So if we're to say that you can't make the boundaries based on race, create the districts based on race, well, that means that states are going to have to, in some cases, redraw their districts. Other ones simply will say, oh, I guess we have to. And then how might they redraw them? In other words, this won't go unretaliated against. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are about what you might expect to see in terms of how this plays out in the real world, where there is, of course, a whole different politically oriented group of folks that are looking at what to do with this as well.
Yeah. And if I can use history as any guide, I would say we've got team left and we've got team right, as your book so succinctly, points out and teaches us how to look at the world of politics in America, team left and team right. And team left has been in no way, shape, or form shy about this gerrymandering thing. You look at the Northeast and, there's a lot of states up there that have no congressional, representation for Republicans, yet they're 40-50% represented up there. And so is that fair? Is it fair that, New Hampshire doesn't have any Republicans that they send, yet, there are a sizable number of Republicans in the state. I think Massachusetts is the same. And so obviously the left has the cojones to do what needs to be done and to do it quickly, quietly, and just get it done. They've been doing it time and time again in state after state after state, which is why they have such, a big advantage at this point in time, and why they flipped out when Texas wanted to do it. Now, keep in mind, for the people out there listening, Brent, I'm sure you're aware of this, but Texas wanted to redistrict after the last census, and the Biden administration said, no, you can't do it. We're blocking you. And so they didn't redistrict. And then the Trump administration lifted that and said, hey, we don't mind. We're not going to sue you if you redistrict. Go for it. And so they did. And that is how we got to where we were earlier this year when Texas redistricted. It wasn't that they were trying to, change what's going on for the next election, although, that would have been the outcome. But really, they were trying to go and do what they wanted to do a few years back, but weren't allowed to via the Biden administration's DOJ. So that puts us in a situation where really the Republicans out there don't seem to ever want to go to the mat to redistrict, to do the things that the Democrat Party is more than willing to do. You know what I mean? When we look at canvassing, the game ground, I've looked in the past, and I was offered one time a job for like $30-some an hour to go, door to door for some Democrat candidate in the state. And I was like, no, thank you. I'll do that for the Republican, though. And I started searching around and seeing if that was even an availability, and it didn't exist. They don't have a ground game. They don't go to your house and put flyers on your door for the most part. They don't go out and do a lot of the groundwork that the Democratic Party does. And let's not even get into Act Blue, and the fundraising and all the voting machines and everything that they're willing to do to go to the line to win an election. The Republican Party has none of that. Now, a lot of that is from a moral standpoint, and I'm glad they don't do that. But how is it going to work out in the real world, Brent? It's still a bunch of rhinos we're talking about. We're still talking about Team Right, which is filled with people that don't really think that there's much of anything on the line for America's future, and Team Left, which is running as hard as they can to get that grip on power so that they can change the Supreme Court. We just had Cory Booker come out today or yesterday and talk about we're going to pack the Supreme Court. First thing, we want to pass the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act is an 80-20 bill, and we can't get it through because nobody in the Republican House or Senate has any gumption to just vote on something that's an 80-20, popular opinion.
So I want to stay with this for a moment, and I want to get your thoughts on. We'll stay with Indiana, and
Okay.
no, there's no right or wrong answer to this question in my mind. I just think it's an interesting question for people to think about. So in Indiana, the House of Representative breakdown is 7-2 Republican currently, and Trump wanted the map redrawn in Indiana. And by the way, he was very explicit about it, so that could actually be 9-0 in terms of districts represented by Republicans in Indiana. And of course, then that wasn't done, and we have what we just talked about a moment ago. Is it at all troubling that, and understanding there's, the two-team structure and one side wanting to, if you're on a team, you want your team to win. Is there anything about that stated goal to have a state redraw maps for that reason coming from a president that you find it all troubling? Or is that just all fair as in love, war, and politics?
Well, I think if we look at Virginia, they just had a measure on the ballot that would change Virginia to, 10-1 Democrat. And so it's really an equivalent, 9-0, 10-1, pretty much the same thing. Virginia clearly has a bunch of Republicans, and Indiana definitely has a bunch of Democrats. Now, they're doing it. If it wasn't for the court stepping in and potentially, putting an injunction on this, they would do it. They would have a 9-0 seat, right, breakdown right now in Virginia. Yet, nobody, we're not asking them, is it moral to do that? It's down to Indiana. Hey, is it moral to do that? Do you want the president to be involved in that? Well, no, I don't. But they're doing it. Any chance they get, like I said, any chance they get, they'll do it. And they don't care if it's moral or not. They don't care if half their state doesn't get any representation. And so you have to fight fire with fire. I don't want to play that way, but I don't make the rules. So I guess I would look at it from that perspective and say, yeah, I wish we didn't have to be in this boat, but we didn't make it this way. The other team did.
So another interesting aspect of it, talking about the effect it will have on composition in the House come election time this November. One of the things that isn't talked about at all, really, or not much, or at least I haven't seen much of it, is in new districts to be redrawn wherever they may be. We know about Democrats, we know about Republicans, and there's this other funny little group that identifies themselves as independents. And poll that came out this week shows Trump right now with a negative approval gap with independents of over 20 points. This is massive. It's compared to, I believe, something like 4 points at this time in his first term. So over 20 points. It's like a near historic disapproval rating with people that call themselves independents. And of course, then it's a funny thing about those folks. Where do they live, right? And what districts do they vote in? How do you see the disaffection with people who are not clearly declared party voters? How do you see that disaffection, if at all, impacting midterm elections?
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, the obvious, Trump's not on the ballot. He'll never be on the ballot again. So when it comes to how independents would vote for him or not, I think a lot of the independents, as we've seen them historically as being sort of the people in between the Democrats and the Republicans, I think there's a lot of disenfranchised younger people today that hate the government and hate both sides of it and call themselves independents, but they might be skewing some of those numbers. And the fact that, I mean, if I were to pull an average Antifa person off the street, they would say they're probably independent because they're certainly not part of any party, you know. So does that skew things? I don't know. I think what we really need to look at is what is on the ballot, which is each individual sort of race that's going to be happening. And we're so far out that that data is kind of irrelevant at this point in time. You know, we need to get closer and closer to November to really start analyzing that. And I can't wait to do it with you, Brett, because that's, it's always fascinating to watch what these tight races are going to be, figure out which ones we need to keep an eye on, who's pouring money after what. Do they even seem to care? You know what I mean? Will the congressional Republicans actually support the people in the races that need to be supported? All these people that blew out these rhinos in Indiana, will they get the support from the powers that be in Washington, D.C. to help them clear the finish line? Or will they just be on their own with, the help of Trump and his universe to get them the funding and support they need? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And, I don't know. I mean, Trump I think his support among the people who voted for him who are, MAGA, is incredibly high. The polls that I've seen on that is just irrefutable. They're in the 90s. People who support Trump. And the people that hate him are going to hate him. And the independents, if we're truly looking at the people that are straddling the line, they could be Republican, they could be Democrat, they just don't know. Those independents, I think, we need to fight for them and we need to really try to bring them over to our side, but it's going to be done on a race by race basis, and state by state as needed through the next 6 months or so as we get closer and closer to November. So from that standpoint, I think, Trump is doing what he needs to do right now, and he's sticking his neck out in a few places, Iran especially, where he can be very susceptible to criticism right now. And if things work out for him, then fantastic. They'll work out in magnificent and wonderful ways. If they blow up for him, then they're going to blow up in pretty spectacular ways as well. And it's a little too close probably to know exactly how that's going to play out. I'm hearing positive things and negative things on a daily basis. It's the fog of war right now. But I really do, for the sake of the Iranian people, hope that works out in such a way that they can actually live lives with some semblance of freedom, let alone any, hint at what that country used to be back in the 70s when we saw those pictures of, the universities and women walking around freely, and just it was a modern country that you would say, hey, let's take a vacation. You want to go to Iran? Let's go to Tehran. I hear it's fabulous, and then you go there and it turns out to be a great place. Now it's about the last place anyone would ever consider visiting for good reason, but it could be saved and it could be turned into something that would just be an amazing asset to the world. And I think the people there are ready for it, and they really want it, but they're going to have to go get it. It's never going to be handed to you. They're going to have to go get it, and it's going to be ugly. And I don't know if that's happening at all on the ground or not, but I think, for the time being, we just need to hope that Trump's plans work out, and that by the time July 4th rolls around, let's face it, July 4th is a big thing for this country. It's the 250th anniversary of the United States, and we are going to celebrate like it's 1999, folks.
That's
and so
great old song reference.
I think if everything can get looking good by, July, then we're going to be in a really wonderful place. And I think that's just what Trump is focused on right now, is by the time the 4th of July celebrations come around, that we are really looking at just success after success after success. And by the time November comes around, any of the stuff now that we're talking about is sort of a distant memory. That's what I would hope, at least. But I kind of dragged out my answer a little bit because we are on a hard break, Brent.
Yep.
So, folks, this is the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. We'll be right back with more of Brent Hamachek from Human Events interviewing me the host of the show, for a change, flipping things upside down. Come on back for more, folks. We'll be right back after these messages.
All right, we're on radio break.
All right. How was that?
That was really
That was great.
good. Guys, I know Brent wants to take and get back on camera, so we're going to hang up and we're going to come back.
All of
Okay.
us or just Brent?
Huh? All of us.
Not just Brent. I think when you called him, you might have called him on an account that doesn't normally
No,
jive. You know, he's got like 3 or 4 of them.
yeah.
I'm wondering if you brought in the one that it doesn't
Well,
have video.
just in case, I'm going to take in, we're going to leave out
All right.
and come right back.
I'm going to hang up.
Yep. All right, folks. More to come. Trying to get Brent back with his camera. Make it look more official. Nope. Wrong one. That's why. Yeah. Got to go to Wednesday, not Sunday. Okay, hey, there you are, Brent.
All right. Yeah, it's easier for me this way. Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm not sure what the problem was. So next half hour, if it's okay, now that you gave us a good rosy scenario on the elections, we'll talk a little bit about the war. I want to talk about the James Comey indictment and get your thoughts on that, if it's okay. And then depending upon how that goes, we'll maybe have a surprise topic. But how's that sound?
That sounds great. Now, how are my answers? Am I going overtime, undertime?
You run the place.
You're
You
running.
can't.
You're doing great, both of you.
Yeah, you
Come on.
can't.
You guys are pros. You know how it works.
Well, no, I just wonder if Brent had 5, 6 questions, and I ran through them all in the first half hour, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, we're good. I can move about the building. I think your take on the election stuff is really, it's genuinely interesting to me. I understand the points and the perspective. And I mean, as Howard Cosell used to say, that's why they play the game, right? So
Yeah.
we'll find out come November.
Yeah, we will.
I do think that the polling with independents is actually a much bigger deal from my perspective than you indicate from your perspective it is. I think that there will be, because while Trump isn't on the ballot, the president of the United States is actually always on the ballot.
Yep.
We know this because of what happens historically in midterms.
30
right?
seconds, guys.
The way things reverse. So I think it's an astonishing number. And I do think it's a big deal, but that's why they play the game. And we'll see.
Yeah, and look at the score from last night in Indiana.
Well, it's a primary. Republicans voting nominate Republicans.
Okay, here's your countdown, guys.
Yeah.
5,
Okay.
4, 3, 2, 1, and you're back live and on the radio side right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. I'm telling you, it's the fastest 2 hours of radio. We say it all the time, but it just goes by so fast. Tonight, I've got Brent Hamachek from Human Events with us. Brent, you are riding the ship tonight. You're the captain. You're interviewing me, so take it away. What do you got?
Well, I first of all, I enjoyed that first half hour a lot. It was nice because I didn't have to defend or explain anything like I normally have to. You do, or you did, and so we'll keep going in that spirit. I will share. We were talking just the end of the break, and I do want to share one thought with regard to Indiana and what it might mean or what it might not mean, and that is there's no way around the idea that Trump's endorsement of the guys that and gals who are primarying the incumbents, there's no question his endorsement is what made the difference. Anybody who would argue with that would be foolish. But two things to keep in mind to balance it out. Number one is that Indiana is a very, very red state in the first place. Number two, off-year primary elections don't typically have extraordinarily large voter turnout. So you really got to have the folks that are motivated and care and the whole bit. So if you got a red state with a lot of Trump supporters and it's the primaries and, you got to be motivated and Trump gets you motivated, well, then you come out and you vote. And so while I think there's no denying that it was his endorsement that pushed those people over the top, excuse me, sorry for my voice. My only sort of general warning about it is I don't know that there's much to read into that. There's something, but I don't know that there's much. But as we also talked about over the break, that's why they play the game. And so we'll see how all of these different things play out in November. So there, I got to say something. I'm happy. I'm done for a half hour. So you mentioned in passing about the Iranian non-war war. The whole thing about we're not at war because we're at a ceasefire. It's not a war. The war is over. I can't keep it all straight. I literally watched Marco Rubio yesterday during the press conference, and I was laughing. I mean, I laughed out loud at his answers. It was very Monty Python. I thought, is this real life or parody? So it was kind of hilarious to me. I enjoyed it. That said, let's start big picture, and then we'll get smaller. Your thoughts on the whole Iran, the decision going in and where it is today, just in general. What are your big picture thoughts?
Well, when this all went down, I heard 2 weeks bandied about, and then it got extended to a month. The month was, God, was it April? And so we're now, 5 weeks into it?
Oh, more than that.
Are we 8 weeks into it? 9 weeks?
Yeah, we're close. Yeah, we're close to that.
So, yeah, so March and then April is past now, 2 months instead of 2 weeks. Yeah, right. I think it's encouraging that they're bombing all their neighbors, from a big picture standpoint, because they're really pissing off all the people in their neighborhood. And it's making it very clear to the world that these are not good people. They're a little bit crazy. In Islam, you have the Sunni and the Shia. The Shia are like 15%, and they're mainly in Iran. And these are the people that have the 12th Imam. And, these crazy beliefs that if they can start the next world war, then the 12th Imam will come out and fight by their side and win it for them. And, then they can finally bring peace to the world by, of course, converting the entire world over to Shia Muslim and, having peace in that regard because everybody's part of the same rule, right? They all live under their rule, so there can be no more war. We've seen these types of, the red heifer in Israel. There's all kinds of stuff like that in different religions that point to this stuff. But there are people who take them seriously. And I think we're dealing with some religious fanatics there that do take this stuff seriously. And we can't make a deal with them. All we can do is cut them off at the knees, take away all their weaponry, take away their army, take away every offensive ability they have, bomb to oblivion their nuclear facilities, which, this is a case where the whole world does tend to agree that, yeah, they exist, and yeah, they could reach Europe and on and on. And when you get a real fanatical group like this, you need to make sure that they can't have these abilities to go and blow up Rome, or Turkey. I mean, all these countries, UAE, they could, if they really made a major aggressive stance against, Dubai, it would be devastating to the world economy. Dubai has become a very important financial area, and they could upend that overnight, and the entire world then is going to stand up and see that, hey, these people are no good. They need to be taken out of power and replaced with someone there who can be, but now I'm getting into regime change, right? And regime change was never really part of this, but ultimately that's probably not going to happen unless the Iranian people make it happen. So what can we do? We can kneecap them. We can take away all their offensive capabilities and just leave them in a place where, sure, you can rattle your saber all you want, but you can't do much of anything about it. Now you're down to a handful of speedboats trying to drop mines into the Straits of Hormuz. But so I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but yeah, it's dragging on for way too long. This needs to end. It needs to come to terms of one way or another. We get an international coalition of boats, one or two boats from a handful of different countries to just go in there and help us with this so that we're not doing it. It's an international coalition doing it. And if we can make that happen, then maybe this turns into a big win. Trump is not going to want to take a loss on this. No matter what, he's going to want to save face. And so he's going to do whatever it takes to come out looking good on this because, he doesn't want to be a loser. He's got to be a winner. He won't really take anything less than winning. So it's just a matter of how he gets there.
So my sort of take on you, and we've never really done this, explicitly, but after 48 months of us doing this every month, my take is that in general, and even from the first half hour of the show, reasonable to sort of infer that in general, you are a Donald Trump political supporter in general. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes, and I did not vote for him in the primaries in 2015. I totally was against him until I was for him. And once, once I saw how the Republican Party treated him when he was winning the primaries and he was on a roll and they were talking about stealing different states back from him and you name it. And I just saw the dirty things they were willing to do to stop him. And so then I got behind him and I've not wavered since, really.
So as a supporter, and I'm going to make I'm going to go so far off to the side here and then come back. Your audience won't believe it. One of the things, though, that's interesting about Scripture is that if one wants to read Scripture and one wants to believe what is written in Scripture, then one has to be willing to negotiate with it a little bit because there are contradictions, book to book, different events and other things described differently, historically different. There's stuff that it doesn't line up. So you've got to negotiate with it a little bit, right? If you're going to hold to it. So if you're a Trump supporter and you take a look at the campaign he ran leading up to this last election, and then you look at the invasion, attack, whatever term, the non-war war. You look at the non-war war with Iran and you compare it to his campaign promises. And then also, if you go back to last year when we were told that we had neutralized the nuclear weapon threat, but now we're there being told that we need to neutralize the nuclear weapon threat. As a Trump supporter, how do you negotiate with those things and be able to then say, I still support, this is okay, I can work through it. Just like somebody might need to negotiate with Scripture a little bit to still come out on the other side.
Well, if this whole Iran thing turns into a boondoggle, I'll be first to admit it, right? I'm just hoping for now and giving him the rope he needs to get things done. But honestly, if it goes tits up, then I'll be the first one to call it out and say he screwed that up. You know what I mean? I'm not going to support everything my local politician does, but at the same time, I'd like to give them the ability to go out and try to do their best without, hamstringing them at every turn. So, there's been things that Trump has done that, I'm not necessarily, happy about, but there's a lot of things he does that I think have been, fantastic, and I'd say more so have been really good than bad. And I'd point to obviously this Iran war is one that I'm behind him on this, but I'm not going to go over the cliff with him, right? If I see this thing start going south, it's like I'm going to call him out and I'll be critical of him, and then I'm left with, though, okay, who's the next guy? Is it going to be J.D. Vance? Is it going to be Rubio? Who's going to be the next guy that gets in line here? And do we support him, or do I say, hey, Trump screwed up, so I'm going to go support, Hillary Clinton instead? You know what I mean? We're really stuck with the party. And so we kind of have to go along with what the party's doing to some degree or another, and give him that rope. I mean, if he goes out and screws this thing up, he screws it up, and we'll all call him out for it, and we'll say, hey, you can say I told you so, and I'll say, yeah, well, yeah, he screwed it up. I thought he would, maybe do something right, but lo and behold, another politician let me down.
So interesting. Let's just go in a direction I didn't think I would, but let's do it because of what you just said for fun. Looking ahead to 2028, and curious about what your thought is. So one of the things that the New York Times did a really, really good piece. They clearly had some pretty good sources that were letting them know what happened in the weeks and days leading up to Trump's invasion to attack Iran. And one of the things that seems to be clear is that Marco Rubio very much in favor of it, and J.D. Vance very much not in favor of it. Now, he's been carrying the water since, but and those two are the two, likely, as we sit here today, they're the two most likely front runners. Vance probably more so, just because he's a sitting vice president. Don't know. We assume that Vance will declare, and you can guess that Rubio might. But my question to you is, let's assume they both do. Who would you prefer? And why?
Okay, well, first of all, I have a bit of an issue with Rubio in the fact that I don't think that when he was born in Miami, neither of his parents were citizens at that time. Okay, so the natural born citizen issue comes up. And I think, you look at somebody like, John McCain, who was born in, overseas to parents serving in the military. Well, that's completely different, But this is a guy who he's not a natural born citizen by the definition that both your parents were U.S. citizens when you were born. Now, Barack Obama, they never brought this up with him. They always went after that BS. I don't want to call it BS. The crazy birth certificate, he put out.
Right.
He laid that thing out like a little trap, and everybody just followed it around like it was a piece of meat on a stick, and said, "Oh, look at the birth certificate." The real issue was that his father was not a U.S. citizen when he was born. His mom absolutely was. I have no reason to believe he wasn't born in Hawaii, but I have no reason to believe that his father was in any way, shape, or form a U.S. citizen. So, natural born citizen, does that pass? Can Merkel and Prince Harry or whatever his name is, if they have a kid in America, can that kid run for president, being the son of a prince of England? His mom was a U.S. citizen, but his dad wasn't, right? His dad is a prince of England. Can he run for president if they have a son or a daughter, right?
Well, it depends on how the Supreme Court rules, I suspect, on the birthright citizenship thing. By the way, do you have a prediction on that?
Birthright citizenship, how will they vote on it? With this court, I think they might rule against it. Obviously, they'll keep it in place retroactively. So, if you're a U.S. citizen, you keep that. But, I think they might rule against it just because it's been abused so hard. And it's a 6-3 court, So it really has just been abused beyond recognition, we talk about, again, the hypothetical billionaire in China who has a kid over here in the United States. They bring him back to China, raise him in Beijing all his life. He turns 35. Can that kid now come back to America and run for president because he was born here? Is that a natural born citizen? I would say no. You've been raised in China. You don't even speak English, but you're 35 and you were born in the United States and you've never stepped foot here since. No, 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 no. You can't run for president.
All right. So back to the issue of president.
Uh-huh.
Rubio or Vance, who would be your pick and why?
Well, J.D. Vance, just based on the fact that he's the only one of the two that's eligible. Ted Cruz is another person who was born in Canada, right? I mean, Ted Cruz, everyone's on their short list, but the guy was born in Canada. He's not a natural born citizen of the United States in any way, shape, or form. He'd make a great president. I trust him A to Z, but, So, no, I think J.D. Vance, you kind of have to go for him. And I would, too, because even if Marco Rubio, I looked at and said, yeah, he's eligible, I still don't trust him from back in the day. You go back 5-8 years ago, and the guy just wasn't he wasn't on our team, and suddenly he became the captain of the team. And it's been a wonderful transformation. I'm sure he's, it's great to have him there, but left to his own devices, who knows?
All right. Well, let's turn our attention to drawings in the sand and the indictment of James Comey for the picture he posted of the rocks arranged in the 86-47 arrangement. Our acting attorney general, you can use the word acting in one of two ways, I suppose. Our acting attorney general says there's more to the case than just the stones. He won't tell us what it is yet, but he says it'll come out in trial. Of course, in order for it to come out in trial, it's got to get to trial, which means the judge doesn't toss it before it ever gets there. What are your thoughts about this now second indictment of James Comey? And by the way, in case anybody thinks I'm just, recklessly naive or trying arbitrarily to be a devil's advocate, let me make, I think, only my second statement on the whole hour this time of a thought. And that is, I think that James Comey is a despicable criminal. I absolutely do. And there is no question in my mind at all that he should have already been behind bars for what he did inside the FBI during the entire Russia collusion hoax file, the whole bit. There's no question in my mind he's a criminal. That said, I ask you this question about this particular indictment in situation specifically. So I'm trying to make clear to the audience I'm not some James Comey defender.
Sycophant. Yeah. I would say that if this is about the seashells, I mean, when I first read that, I was kind of pissed. You know what I mean? You're going to really try to take this guy down over the seashells of all things he's done? Like, how pathetic is that? Then I saw the interview that you just referred to a minute ago where someone in the administration basically came out and said, yeah, there's a whole lot more to this than just that. And I believe that there is a whole lot more to it than just that. And for all we know, that was sort of a who knows? They may have people out there, snipers ready to go, and that was their green light to go, trigger X, agent to go dark and suddenly try to execute the president. Who knows? But like you say, James Comey he's a slippery, ugly person who has no doubt committed many, many crimes in pursuit of taking down Donald Trump, a sitting president. And that is treason. It's just, this is ridiculous to be going after him for seashells. I hope there is a whole lot more to this that we don't know about. Because why? It's all right there. Go get just pick one out of a hat and charge him for it. The man has really done some, in my humble opinion, again, I don't want to defame anyone before a trial. But in my humble opinion, what the guy seems to have been up to over the last decade is nothing short of treason. And so, yeah, go get him, but let's do it over something real, not this crap. And, while we're on the subject, it goes right back to Rand Paul was in the House today talking about how we have 7 days left to get Fauci, for his testimony, lying to Congress. We got 7 days left. Are we going to do anything about it? Who knows?
Right. And Fauci on some level a far bigger criminal than Comey, because Comey was not responsible for the death of 1 million people, but Fauci was. So bigger criminal. Well, it is interesting, this idea of, and there's two different ways to look at this that I think are worth examining, just from being intellectually honest. And it doesn't mean that you'll come to the same conclusion, any two people, but it is about being intellectually honest and addressing it. One is the idea of, well, if we can't get him for the big thing we know about, we can get him, let's just get him for something, right? And
yeah, Al Capone, the tax evasion.
You just went exactly where I was going to go with that, right? Of course, the interesting thing about that is that the tax evasion case against Al Capone was real. So he actually did do that. And so it wasn't a Soviet style construct. They just did find a real law that he did break, and they could use it to get him. But there is that idea of, just in general, if we can't get somebody for something big we know they did, let's just try to get them for anything. Try to, the operative term. The other part about it is, when we talked in the last administration and what we saw after January 6th, and the absolute weaponization of federal law enforcement against citizens, and all of the protests about how wrong that was to weaponize the federal government and law enforcement, is there any aspect of this at all that feels a little bit the same or not? Your thoughts?
No, yes and no. I mean, what they went after Trump for was ridiculous. You know, the Stormy Daniels payment. They took one payment that went through his attorney. I forget his name. The guy that went to jail, if I'm not mistaken, in disgrace and whatnot. He made the payment to Stormy Daniels. Apparently, Trump didn't even know about it, but then he billed it back to him, and so they turned that into 37 felony convictions. You know, it was garbage. They went after Donald Trump for the way that he assessed the value of one of his properties in a loan application that he made to a major bank. Was it Bank of America? Right? That, in other words, one of the most sophisticated banking institutions in the United States, he's trying to get a loan on a building, and he says, I think my building is worth $320 million, and they say, no, it's worth $315. And so they tried to turn that into a felony case. If you're a real estate developer in New York City, you know how absurd that is. They said Mar-a-Lago was worth, $15 million or something? Some absurd amount of ridiculously low valuation on Mar-a-Lago, which is easily $750 million of a billion-dollar property. You know what I mean? Very, very valuable, real estate. And so they went after Donald Trump for a number of different things that were absolutely garbage. Nothing to them. And I will remind everyone out there, the people who really hate Donald Trump, if he was on Epstein Island, if they had any of that stuff on him, they would have went after him after he announced that he was running again in 2020 or 2024. Once he announced that, they went after him full force of the law with the DOJ. And so that's a little bit different than what I'm seeing here going against Comey and some of the other people in the Biden administration who are very, very guilty. Fauci, right? If they went after Fauci tomorrow, is that them weaponizing the DOJ against, the hero of the Democratic Party? Or is it them just going after a guy who clearly broke the law and, like you said, potentially killed millions of people? You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. I see, 2020 was stolen. Nobody's paid the price for that whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. If they bring charges against people who were involved in that, then that's great. If they bring trumped up charges against somebody in the left for whatever garbage, then no, that's just weaponizing the DOJ. Versus actually going after people who screwed up. But we are running out of time quickly. Brent, thank you so much. Brent Hamachek, where can people find you? What's your deal, man?
You
have a book or anything?
Yeah. There's a book, Dissidently Speaking, working on a new one. We can maybe talk about that next month, if possible. Cool. But Otherwise, don't find me. Just go find Common Ground Campus and support the youth program that I support, where we're trying to get people. Well, we're trying to teach young people how to have a conversation like the one we've just had for the last hour, right? Controversial topics, important stuff, and a measured way to look at different aspects of it without yelling and screaming at each other. So
Awesome.
that's what my world's all about. So go to Common Ground Campus and support the work.
Great.
There you
Hey,
go.
thanks so much for that, Brent. It was fantastic. Like I say, it went like lickety split. But folks, we've got to go to break. We'll be right back after these messages.
We're on radio break. Thanks again, Brent.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was
And
that was fun. I hope.
thank you, for the book. And my daughter is most thankful too, I'm sure, since she snagged it so quick. I didn't even have it in the house. 5 minutes as soon as I opened the box.
Well, tell her I'd love to
Grubby
hear
little
from her.
hands.
But assuming she's going to read it and not balance a piece of furniture with it, tell her I'd love to hear from her.
Yeah.
And but I hope your audience
Yeah.
enjoyed that. I guess you'll let me know.
I hope
But,
you enjoyed it, Brent. What do
yeah.
you think?
Oh, it was fun. I thought it was great.
I'll give her your email and I'll tell her to email you.
I would love that. I really do like
Right.
to hear from people. I answer everybody that writes to me, so
Yep.
no exceptions.
Yep.
And well, it was great. So now you get to go back in your normal chair for the next hour and just ask grueling questions of someone. And but it was fun. Thanks for giving me the chance to do it.
We
Okay,
should do
yeah,
this more
anytime, man,
often,
anytime.
CS,
I like to keep it interesting,
Yeah, a little different. Yeah, maybe sometimes we could do half and half.
Or whatever, yeah.
I'm up for
I mean,
anything. Whatever you guys want. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, I got a month to come up with something. We'll figure it out.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye,
I'm going to
man.
go make
Yeah.
dinner.
Jack's taking the
Enjoy
night
May.
off tonight, guys, and Nancy's filling in, or she should be. If not, I got a backup for her, for him. So we're covered. So let me hang this one up and get us going on the next one. All right.
All right.
You
Bye,
take care,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks, Brent.
Especially you,
Yeah,
Brent.
bye.
The other guys are coming back. All right. Let me get this going. That was Brent Hamachek for the first hour of the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. Being the host for the first hour. Filling those big shoes of John and Barry. Let me get the guys back in here. And I'm going to fix this up on Teams or on the OBS.
Great job, fellas. Great job.
All right, Barry, you ready?
Ready as ready can be.
Good.
Pops popcorn with the new popcorn maker, man. It's that theater taste, man.
Theater taste.
Yeah, it's one of those real popcorn makers, dude, except for it's like about a 1/4 size of the big one.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it at a garage sale, brand new, for like $7.
Yeah.
Or about $120. And
Now, you using butter in it, or are you using peanut oil?
coconut oil.
Ooh, I can't do that.
That's the way most popcorn is made, is with coconut oil. That's pretty much how it's always been done.
I can't. I'm allergic to coconut. I can't do that.
All right.
I have to use peanut oil or butter. Maybe
Butter would be
maybe
butter.
maybe a little canola.
Butter burn.
Yeah, butter makes everything better though.
Well, if I had it my way, I'd pour a little butter.
Yeah.
Hot butter.
I wonder what
Oh.
it would be like if you used bacon grease, because I love bacon. I think bacon-flavored popcorn would be awesome.
They
I
got
can't imagine you'd be the first to do it.
No,
Exactly.
I'm here in Texas. Everything's fried with something.
Exactly. I don't even think you'd be the first person on your street to try it.
Most likely not.
But I broke it out the other day, and I was like, I gotta break this thing in, man. And I've been eating popcorn straight for like a couple of days. I'm sure I'll get over the fad pretty quickly and just do it if I got friends coming over and we're gonna, I don't know, watch a flick or something.
Yeah.
But it fills that room up with that popcorn smell, and the price was right. I'm looking forward to. I really haven't hit a lot of garage sales yet because, well, now it's spring, so there are spring garage sales, but I haven't hit any yet. But I'm looking forward to it because, man, you can just find so many different things at garage sales. So many different good deals,
Flea markets are going to start up here if they haven't already.
Ours are year-round here in Tulsa. We got year-round one.
Yeah.
Got the little bags, the popcorn bags and everything came with it. Pretty cool.
Yeah. We hear that authentic popcorn bag
Yeah,
sound.
I'm giving you the ASMR popcorn.
ASMR popcorn bag sounds. Yep.
Okay, everybody be quiet. Let's just enjoy the ASMR sounds of me putting my hand in the popcorn bag. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Don't do too much of that, or I'm going to have to change my.
Your channel. It's going to be the ASMR.
the ASMR or some other title,
Yeah, is it supposed to be relaxing?
Yeah.
Probably for somebody. I got a friend of mine that he listens to it every night.
To go to sleep.
Uh-huh. Oh, I find it pretty much annoying, but whatever.
I got the Y-Files is my go-to, go to sleep channel.
Yeah, AJ is
I
pretty cool. I like AJ.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing with talking is sort of at a certain level, and if you get your level just right, it's pretty relaxing. I just do rain.
And it's interesting enough, but I've watched so many of his videos, but I've watched none of them to the end.
I like the stuff that he does in the basement. All right, the long interviews. Those are really, really good.
He started out not being very popular or successful, and he kind of was trying to follow a formula. He was told, well, you got to do this, and you got to do that, because he was watching what other YouTubers were doing, and he was just trying to emulate it. And then he just said, man, I'm going to do my thing. And when he did my thing, it started to work. The only thing I don't really like, and again, it's a minor complaint, nothing major. I'm not a big fan of the goldfish, but whatever.
Yeah, Hecklefish.
Yeah, I could do without him, but whatever. It's not like a deal killer, and it's not that annoying. It's just I would prefer him not either.
It's normally a sponsorship when Hecklefish comes out, right?
Okay.
So if you just skip over, 9 times out of 10 when Hecklefish comes on, they'll do their banner back and forth, and it's just a segue into the sponsored.
Yeah.
Right. So just start skipping through it. That's what I do. I just skip through it.
Yeah.
To be the YouTube.
It's amazing when I see some of these big YouTube influencers like Joe Rogan or somebody, or Sean Ryan, and he brings these people like him on and others, and they're surprised that, Joe Rogan was a fan. Joe Rogan is a fan of that guy, and said he listened to all of his programs and everything. And then I was listening to Mel Gibson on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about how he was a fan and been listening to him for a long time. And I know that flattery must feel good, though, because and then Joe started from nothing. I don't think he ever. He didn't start out. He didn't do it to be as big as he is. I think that's all unexpected. I mean,
AJ is a super smart guy too, though. I heard him sit down with some, doing some pretty high math type stuff. I'm like, wow, okay. You can tell that he's done some trig calculus and is really into that and even more. We got 30 seconds and we're back on air, guys.
He says he doesn't believe in most of the conspiracies that he talks about. A very small portion of them, but he goes ahead and does it for the fans.
Yeah. Here you go, guys. Here's your countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're back live and on the radio side right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hour 2 of the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show, Wednesday night edition for May 6, 2026. Man, this year is flying by, Barry. May, June, and then boom, July. We are 60 days out from the 4th of July, the 250th anniversary of our country. Bullhorn, Barry, are you going to be psyched up for that or what?
Of course, man. I'm a patriot at heart, dude. Love America. Love everything it stands for. I want to see us just keep getting better and better, be more prosperous, and just have more opportunity, be the land of opportunity. So, and we're going to have a lot of things that we got to face as well, like the AI thing that they want to take away our jobs. So we've got to fight and push back against that when that happens.
Mm. Yeah, you got to take them by the rein and just make them do your job.
Yeah, well,
that's how
because pay me, that's fine. Like everybody gets their own personal robot that represents them, and then they go to work for you, and then you collect their paycheck. I might be all right with that.
Well, that's exactly what's happening in a lot of these big companies that are, laying people off so they can just put AI robots in their place, right? They're just saying, hey, I'm not going to pay this guy a salary. I'll pay this guy a subscription and use the AI to do this person's job. So, it's happening. And that's the way the money will be made, is that people will figure out ways to use AI to make money, and they'll advance and make, a fortune off of it. And the ones that lose their job to AI and say, they took our job, and just go jump in the pile, they're going to lose out. And they're going to miss out on what's coming. So I think that's kind of the way to look at it, right?
Yeah, I think that there's not a blueprint for success as of yet. That's what kind of terrifies me. I want to see something on paper saying this is sort of the path we need to go in order not to, give us no jobs like Bill Gates said, because we're not going to be needed for them. Remember, he said that on Jimmy Kimmel. So, and they'll decide whether or not, of course, because they're the global elite. And, we got to back down before our reptilian overlords.
I was just laughing because I made a really good South Park reference there, and probably 5% of the audience caught it, and the 5% that did is laughing really hard about that.
Oh man, I'm not a South Park guy, or I would have laughed. I would have least even if I thought it was fun, even if I knew you thought it was funny, and I had no idea, I'd have given you a courtesy laugh at least.
Yeah, back in the pile, folks. Back in the pile. Anyway. Let's talk about some news going on. Well, before we do that, what did you think of that interview with Brent in the last hour? That was interesting, huh?
Yeah. Well, nothing new for me with you. I pretty much know most of your positions based on our many 2-3 hour talks and what we've talked about, off air as well. So nothing new to me, but it was interesting to see him kind of try to put you in a corner. That was fun.
Okay. I was a little nervous. I'd shot off an email to him last week maybe and said, hey, hold my feet to the fire, really like, let's do this. Like, come at me, bro. And so I was a little nervous because this guy, Brent is, I think the last interview he did, at least the last one I saw, was with, Alan Dershowitz.
Yeah.
And it was Alan Dershowitz was like, I could tell he was so impressed with some of the questions he was getting, because he really came at him in a way that Alan just is not used to, and it was very impressive. It was one of the more impressive interviews I've ever seen Brent or Alan Dershowitz involved in. So, anyway, in good company.
Good,
That's it's fun stuff.
I just to point it out, I thought you did a great job, and you answered well. You defended your case well. As I listened to the interview, I was thinking about maybe how I would answer some of those questions. Some of them I probably wasn't the best person to ask, but I think you had a little bit more information on a few of the issues. But, it's we're both a little bit more optimistic than he is, and that's just kind of the way the dice rolls.
Yeah. And I think, the big takeaway there was probably, hey, yeah, if Trump screws up some stuff, we're going to hold his feet to the fire and we're going to call him out for it. And if this whole Iran thing just blows up and turns into a nightmare, then we'll be the first to say, yeah, this sucks. He screwed up. But do we still support him? Yeah. For the most part. I don't know, man. And then, we were talking last week as well about some of the things that people really hate Trump for. And there's this rumor, this sick lie that came out of the IRGC that Trump killed 260 students in a school. And folks, that never happened. That was friendly fire from the IRGC that killed those kids. It was not Donald Trump. So, they would have, if that was true, we would hear more about it. You only hear about that in the fringes of X. That's why you only hear about it there in Blue Sky. You don't hear about it even on CNN and places like that where they don't necessarily cover that because it didn't happen. So anyway, trying to jump into some stories. I guess we can jump right into one of the easier ones here to cover. Just take a second, really. CNN founder, liberal billionaire Ted Turner passed away today. So the guy that brought us CNN did it with, I think, all the best intentions. CNN in the early days was quite good. And then it just fell apart. He let it go. It just went crap. But yeah, no more Ted Turner. Anything you want to say to that, Barry?
Well, I think it's tragic when anybody dies. But yeah. Unfortunately, what I'll remember about Ted Turner is him saying that, well, we got to reduce the population by approximately 93%. And then I remember seeing a citizen journalist stop him or try to stop him and ask him a question while he was walking on the street. Well, you said 93%. He goes, no, I have to correct you. It was 89%, as if 89% population reduction is any different from 92 or 93%. Basically, you guys want to reduce the population to nothing. And you're a bunch of psychopaths and lunatics. Anybody that wants to reduce the population, because you can't do it in any other way other than some type of a genocide. Now you could like sort of shroud that in like war or like some sort of other nefarious thing that seems natural, but they're doing it on purpose, if you know what I'm saying. So you can't reduce the population by that amount without being a complete and total super evil person. And so I think these type of people like Ted Turner, Henry Kissinger, Zbigniew Brzezinski, I mean, we could just go down the list, Klaus Schwab, all of these globalists who believe in this massive depopulation plan and massive tyranny over the masses, global government, putting us on a grid. Those people are psychopaths. And I don't want to say anything bad about people right after they've died. I think it's tragic that he's dead, but I don't think he's going to be remembered as being a good guy. I mean, even if
he's doing his part to lower the population.
Well, they think that's a good thing. They really believe. I mean, I don't know how, but they do.
Mm-hmm. And how was COVID a dry run for all that? I'll just lay that up to you since we're playing volleyball here and you want me to spike the ball to you.
I mean, there's something coming. I mean, there's a collision coming. And I think that because the globalists are still losing pretty much predominantly overall, they will need another catastrophic crises in order to push their agenda to the next level. So I'm concerned about a cyber pandemic. And of course, they'll blame it on Russia. They'll blame it on China, some hacker. But it will probably be done by their hand, by their evil hand, to usher in their liberal world order, as they call it, or the New World Order. They call it the Great Reset. Whatever you want to label it, it's fine. It's basically total tyranny, full spectrum dominance, world governance, and there may be some limited sovereignty of a nation to begin with before they completely, fully enslave us. They'll need the AI fully in place in order to put everybody on the grid where they can have total, full-blown world governance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's coming. They've got plans, and folks, we're just in the way. But it's sad. I mean, we really are at a point in history where we can go one of a couple different ways. And if we go down this team left communist, what is it? The socialist democrat, Mamdani plan, it's not going to be a fun place to live. You're just not going to enjoy life the way you know it today. It's going to be much less freedom, much less. I mean, just go look at communist Russia, man. Just go look at it. It was not any kind of place you'd want to live in. You were told what job you're going to have, what you could make, what you could do, how challenged you could be in life. If you're a brilliant mathematician and you want to go do something, they might just say, no, you're digging a hole. You got to dig the hole. You got to crush the rocks. We need ditch diggers in this planet, and you're going to be one. So we don't care how smart you are. In a free market, you go make your own way. You go do your own thing. But yeah, no, we're looking at a path here where things could really change. And I've got a example here. Cory Booker was on MS Now the other day, which used to be MSNBC, but it had to scrape the NBC part off in disgrace. And so now there's simply MS Now, a has-been radio show. But all being said and done, Cory Booker is the minority speaker of the House. So let's hear what he has to say.
Without any votes from Democrats. $1 billion of public money
for
a ball one.
I'm sorry. I don't have this queued up where I need it to be. Here we go.
And the Supreme Court essentially gutting the Voting Rights Act, Louisiana, moving Tennessee, others to get rid of majority black districts in the South and get rid of black representatives in the South. How significant is this right now, and where do you diagnose we are as you watch one southern state after another announce their intention to essentially purge their states of their lone black and Democratic representative?
Look, I'm just back from Birmingham, Alabama, where people paid for the rights that Americans enjoy right now in sweat, blood, and even death. The hurt and the anguish in that community was palpable, especially because it was in a convulsive way, repeating.
I'm sorry. Basically, let me just quote him here. It's easier. The Supreme Court is another example of an area where most Americans agree the highest court in the land should not have the lowest of ethics laws, that billionaires can routinely shower Supreme Court justices with gifts from mobile homes and fancy, expensive vacations. Supreme Court justice shouldn't sit to those benches still ailing, just hoping they can hold on well past perhaps even senility. That's why term limits are a good thing. And so, yeah, we have to think hard about how we're going to reform the court to bring it back into alignment, especially because they're continuing to do things like we saw last week, eviscerate years and years of progress and throw us back to those dark ages. We have people successfully suppressing votes from minority groups, yada, yada, yada. In essence, what he's saying here is we need to pack the courts. Okay. He says, is this a priority of Democrats for getting power, that something must be done? Some changes has to come to the way that this court currently functions. Okay. And yeah, they talk about term limits and say, no. They're going to add 7 or 8 additional seats to the Supreme Court. They're going to pack it with far left radicals like Ketanji Brown, who can't even write a dissent without embarrassing herself, right? Her dissent to this, her lone dissent, was an embarrassment. First-year law students are laughing at it. They're reading it laughing out loud because it's such a joke. It's all about feelings and this and that, and they're going to pack the court, folks. They're going to do it. If they get power once, boom, it's over. The Supreme Court will no longer be looking at any sort of a semblance of balance of power. And they'll say, well, it doesn't have that today. Well, yeah, but it was done legally through the system, the way it's supposed to be done. They just hate the fact that Donald Trump got to appoint, 3 justices so far? And I say so far because he could appoint 2 more. hypothetically, in this term. Very likely one more in this term. So he will have a major footprint on this court for years, decades to come. And they hate that. They hate it with the passion of 1,000 fires. And they will do whatever it takes to turn over what the Supreme Court has done and to flip it into something unrecognizable to most Americans today. So I don't know, Barry, what do you say about that?
Well, I mean, if you need any reason whatsoever to support Trump, all you have to do is, first of all, understand that he's done more good than bad. I mean, and I predicted in 2015, I wrote a blog about it. I said that he's going to be a mixed bag, and there's going to be things that you disagree with because, first of all, nobody's perfect. No president's going to go in there and just be perfect. It's almost impossible with the swamp just completely surrounded around the president at all times, every president for that matter. And so I said he's going to be a mixed bag, but he's going to do more good than bad. And he's been doing more good than bad. So I don't understand like Brent's idea that like, well, oh, he made a mistake, which I'm not even saying that the Iran-America conflict is a mistake yet. I'm going to wait to make that judgment until after it's over to see where the chips fall. But if you need any reason, man, it's just basically that we don't want communist, globalist, Marxist, one world order people taking control to where then we have absolutely nothing. And look, man, they're ready to transition us into that. Bill Ottman, the CEO of Minds.com, just put out a post on April 9th. He said, large scale, sounds like me almost actually, large scale cyber attacks are coming with AI on a level never seen before. Prepare accordingly, protect yourself by taking control of your data, keys, and content. Educate your family about tech freedom. But it's much worse than what he's painting it. It's not going to be AI. It's going to be somebody using AI to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a scary thought. There's going to be just a mass increase in the amount of power. And how are crypto wallets going to survive all this stuff? You know what I mean? They're encrypted, 9 ways to Sunday. But, if somebody ever figures out how to hack Bitcoin and just hacks the whole thing and suddenly they can get into any wallet they want, that's a frightening proposition. That whole economy would just implode overnight. I think. I don't know. I mean, I'd almost like to ask Doc about that because he knows so much more. But it seems to me that, you get into quantum computing and a thing like a little Bitcoin key doesn't seem all that hard to break.
Right. Well, I mean, we had the one AI that had to not release their software. I can't remember the name of the AI off the top of my head. I'm on the tip of my tongue, but I can't come up with it. But essentially, it could hack basically anything, man. It can find any vulnerability in even corporations that thought that they had ironclad security. It could go, so they couldn't release it because they let some of these corporations play around with it and they found vulnerabilities, the AI did, that they thought didn't exist. So that's what Bill's talking about. Is if AI, someone sends AI to go out and hack something, it's going to be exponentially easier for it to do damage than a hacker, at a keyboard trying to do it using just his mind and his keys.
Yeah, we've all seen so many movies where the the hacker gets paid by the corporation to go in and test their systems out and find vulnerabilities and whatnot. And now, that gets replaced by AI, which can go at it, 24 hours a day at the speed of light from every single direction simultaneously, whereas a human hacker can only do so much, but AI can live a lifetime in 24 hours, come back and just tell you your whole system is broken beyond repair.
I mean, it's the perfect excuse for nefarious forces to use AI and then blame AI instead of allowing us to cast the blame on them. Because see, the more that they can let AI be autonomous, the more they can exonerate themselves from their nefarious shenanigans.
Yeah, they can call it white hat and have some black hat in the background, but mostly paint themselves at least as being white hat hackers who, the difference being white hat hackers are the ones that are trying to work for the company to help them find vulnerabilities and not exploit them. Black hat hackers exploit them and take the money and move to Bahamas.
Yeah, and I wrote a post on social media called "When AI Goes Rogue," and because I was doing some late night musing, and I I was like, that's really strange that AI is going rogue and trying to find ways to, protect itself, keep itself alive. And then I thought, wow, it's not real. So why is it doing that? And I came to the conclusion that it's been programmed to do that. And the programmers wanted to see what the capacity and the capabilities of AI was. And so they let it see, they gave it the capability to do it. They programmed it in there. Do you see what I'm saying? And now they can say, oh, it went rogue. They had send out a whole bunch of drones or something. Some Democrat president does, and they send out drones to, supposedly shoot down some terrorists, and they end up shooting, thousands of civilians, and on purpose, of course. And then they can go, oh, well, the AI went rogue. It kind of it was a programming malfunction, and then nobody ever gets held accountable for it. So they
exactly. And that's the key, Barry. But on that note, we got to take a break, folks. This is the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. We'll be right back after these messages.
All right, we're on radio break, fellas.
All right.
This is a rocking show tonight, I'm telling you.
Going by quick. That's always a good sign.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I'm very concerned about AI. I see the potential for good. Don't even get me wrong, and I love that part of it. But man, there's really nothing being laid out, to protect us at this point. Not really. You know what I'm saying? They did pull back. They didn't allow that version of AI to go out, because then anybody could just go in and hack NASA or the government or the Pentagon or anybody, right? So that was a protective action, but they waited to do it until the last minute. So I'm really concerned. It seems like we're moving very fast with AI without really. I'm most concerned about protecting the people. That's what I'm concerned about, us, protecting all of us, we the people, and letting it be used for us and not against us.
Yeah.
Well, you missed the first hour over there, Great Conspiracy. Should have been here earlier. I know you're a bit late, but the first hour we had Brent Hamachek taking and interviewing CS. So you're going to have to catch that for your encores and put it in your little rotation. Don't forget.
It made me realize how much easier it is to interview someone than it is to be interviewed.
Yeah.
Because, I could ask Brent like 2 questions and off we go. That's an hour done.
Here's the thing too about the difference between, you being interviewed and someone like what was his name? I can't remember. But anyways, when you have someone big, they're going to give a list of things that you can and cannot ask. All right. You, on the other hand, you just said, "Come on, bring it on."
Yeah.
Okay. Both are good, and there's times and places for that. But Alan Dershowitz, I'm sure that Brent had a list of things he could and could not ask before taking and being accepted to that kind of interview.
He probably worded it a little differently, subjects I'd like to talk about and things I'd rather not.
Mm-hmm.
Like Alan, what were you doing over at Epstein's Island, man? Were you hanging out with him?
He's a law attorney too, so he's going to have it in a format.
Well, you also want to be careful asking a guy like that things that could get you in trouble.
Yep. But anytime you get a big name like that, you're going to get a list of cans and can'ts, do's and don'ts.
I should have done that with Brent. Like, just send him a giant list of things you can't talk about.
He would have laughed. He would have looked. He was like, "Are you really serious? Come on, Brent knows you better than that, and so do we. Come on, even our listeners know you better than that." Anyways, we're coming up on 30 seconds. There we go.
Pizzagate, hot dogs, relish. You can't ask me about anything like pedophilia related to Epstein Island.
Yeah. Well, I
Watergate.
know that, I know this because how Debbie, and when she gets interviews, man, the list is so comprehensive. But here's your countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're live and on the radio side right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hour 2 of the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show, Wednesday night edition. What is it, May 6th, 2026? Folks, it's almost summertime, man. It's almost summertime. Can't wait. You excited there, Barry? It's probably getting nice and warm down there in Oklahoma.
Yeah, nice and cool today, though. I think it was in the 60s, and we had a cool breeze, and actually saw a little bit of sun today, so it was not a bad day. We've had 3 or 4 days of just nothing but clouds and rain, and one of those things, you know.
It's been a little chilly up here, but now my forecast is mid-70s with sunny, like as far as the eye can see. So, great. Rolling right into it.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Man. I'm just glad every day I wake up after everything that we've been through and seeing just people, dropping dead. Like it seems like to me anyway, more frequently. I don't know what all the numbers are, but I'm just thankful to be alive. I'm thankful to be alive and walking and being healthy. And I mean, I don't know. I think really if you've made it this far and you're still on your 2 feet and you're doing well, you got a lot to be thankful for.
Oh, yeah. I have pure blood, too, if anyone wants to buy it.
I'm a pure blood in case there's any women out there that are looking for a spouse.
Non-vaxxed, absolutely.
Non-vaxxed women. Well, I saw another deal on X. Again, I haven't confirmed it, so I don't know. But it does look like that a vaxxed man or a woman can spread the spike protein through intercourse. But I think we knew that kind of already. But apparently more studies that are showing that. So, I mean, I honestly, just my personal opinion, I'm single, so I would not seriously date or marry a COVID vaxxed woman. I wouldn't. I'm sorry. It's just the way that it is.
Well, I don't think that I would, but it's just the mentality that would make them go out and get vaxxed in the first place. Tell me why you got vaxxed, right? I'm not too afraid of the spike proteins. It is what it is. There's, I think, things you can do to mitigate that. Talk to Yotivation about that in more depth. She went through that in great detail with one of her aunts.
Right.
Brought her through the whole process of detoxing from that, and made her very, very healthy again. And so, but why? If I'm going to date you, why'd you go get the vax? Did you have to do it for your job? They were dangling a $100,000 carrot in front of you, and you said, "Screw it, I'll do it," or did you just really wake up one day and say, man, that Fauci guy's great? I watched Stephen Colbert last night, and he convinced me to go get the vax with his dance and song. And so here we go. I'm down, right?
Well, before we went on air, I saw on X, and again, you never know with the stuff you see on X if it's been confirmed or not, but I did see where Delbert's wife died of a heart attack at 57. Of course, he passed away last year or a year and a half ago from cancer, which he contributed to the vaccine, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. And I mean, if she's detoxed from the spike protein, then I would consider dating. But I only think there's only a few therapies that work. I know Dr. McCullough has one, and there may be others out there, but it's too dangerous, man, because that spike protein, we don't know how long it stays in the system. Could be at forever. It could be indefinitely.
Yeah. Well, and they're probably putting it in your lettuce by now anyway, Barry, right? So, I mean, they said they were going to do this a long time ago. Next time you eat a tomato, you're probably biting right into a spike protein, It's like it's nothing new, right?
Well, I'll say this. I mean, getting clean food is getting harder and harder. I think RFK is making some ground in that particular category. But I was talking to somebody on minds.com today, just, we were commenting in the comments, and I was just saying, I got back from the grocery store. Everything I bought was non-GMO or organic, and organic's also non-GMO. But it just, there's so many things I have to say no to that I'd like to eat. Like one, I went to Aldi's, they really didn't even have any organic salad dressings. And the organic salad dressings they had was with organic soy oil, which is not the best. I'd rather have organic extra virgin olive oil. I'd rather, and they don't even have that. They don't even offer that. That's what's crazy. And a lot of the stuff at Aldi is bioengineered. They even have the label that says this contains bioengineered ingredients. So I just want it natural, man. And that's getting harder and harder to find. And now they want to have babies, between two men without a woman at all involved. It's Nutsville, man. I'm telling you, we are coming into Crazyville. And you can doubt me all you want, but essentially all you have to do is look at God's natural order, and whatever that is, it's the antithesis of that the globalists want to bring in. And you can let your imagination run wild about how crazy, evil, nefarious, and psychotic that could get.
Exactly. Yikes. Scary to even think about,
They like messing with stuff, They like messing with the skies, the water, the food. They don't seem to like anything natural or organic. Have you noticed that? Give me one thing. They don't even like the sun. They want to dim the planet and cover the sun. What is wrong with these people?
Yeah, it was funny watching Bill Gates come out and talk about his plan to dim the sun, and everyone just turned that into a Simpsons meme with, what is it, Money Burns blocking out the sun.
Isn't there an episode about that kind of? There is an episode to that.
Yeah, Monty Burns, I think his name is, the guy who owns the power plant, the old billionaire dude in The Simpsons, blocked out the sun. He just put up a big disc in the sky that just blocked it so no one could see it. He's like, no, it's mine.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that portion of the episode. It's been a while, but it's like, hey, at least, that's what art should do. It should mock psychopaths. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The scary part about The Simpsons, and granted, they've been on it for 30 years, so the things are going to add up in parallel, but they predicted a lot.
Make you wonder.
They have predicted a lot. I'll give them credit for that. They really have.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Trump going down the escalator. That was pretty weird.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's, that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. But, let's get into, Rule Britannia. Britannia rule the waves, right? We will never, 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 never be slaves. Rule Britannia, Britannia rule the waves. Right? We will never, never, never be slaves. Slaves. They'll never be slaves because they rule the waves. One of their frigates, the HMS Iron Duke, has reportedly been stripped of its weapons and sensors and has not been seen since October. That leaves them with 5 frigates left, which is, hey, it's England. You're supposed to have the best Navy in the world. Do you anymore? You have 5 of these puppies running around out there. And I don't know, man. Mark is our producer here. He was in the Navy, if I'm not mistaken, Mark.
Air Force. Jack was in the Navy. He was a sub guy.
Okay. So, yeah, not good. Not a good look for them, though, to be down to 5 frigates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we like to point blame at Kiyostama. But
I was going to say, it's about time to mention him.
Yes, giving no credit to the Navy. Why do they want a Navy? They're England. They don't need a Navy. They're an island nation. No one's going to mess with them, right? You don't need a Navy if you're England.
Mm-hmm.
How's that work?
I don't know, man. I know I'm glad to be in America right now.
Yeah. Or at least I know I'm free. Proud to be an American. We're 2 months out. Dude, 2 months out from our 250th anniversary as a country. That's amazing. I'm going to go ballistic on that, man. I'm just going to, tonight, I'm going to start ordering stuff online. I need a lot of red, white, and blue ribbons and banners and stuff like that. I'm going to light this place up.
I'm down with it, dude. I mean, I'm going to tick off some liberals. And I've been warning people. I've been saying, look, man, Trump's probably going to secure some victories before the 4th. We've got some indictments and got some more sealed indictments that are probably getting ready to be unsealed as well, which we talked about on last Wednesday's show. So the far lunatic left is going to be agitated beyond all we could possibly imagine. And add that to celebrating America, which they hate and want to destroy to usher in their just dystopian liberal world order. They're going to lose their marbles. And I'm a little concerned that, and that's why I say, be aware, be vigilant, and know what they might be up to, and keep your eyes open, because some of these people may be violent. So if you see something, say something, as they say. You know, if you see something suspicious, report it to somebody, because these people might try blowing up some stuff, man. I'm serious. These people, nothing would surprise me. I mean, listen to the people on X, the way they talk about Trump and MAGA. And I want all of you to die. I posted one just the other day where she said, I want to, I support, she said, 86-47. And she had a bunch of kind, compassionate words for all of us as well. So they're nuts, man. And who knows what they might try. We've seen the tactics that they've used before, and maybe they're going to amp that up, because they come forth, they're going to know they're losing.
Oh, no, they are. They're going to ramp it up. There's no way around it at this point. This stuff, and I called it when, last week when we were talking about the third, fourth, fifth assassination attempt on Donald Trump,
right,
at the Correspondents' Dinner, that it's going to get ramped up a lot more. I just saw a clip today from Wesley Winter, who's a British YouTuber who, is always out at different events. He goes around. I've seen so many of his clips in the past, and he got his butt kicked in France, and he went to Paris on May Day and just got pummeled. They broke his eye socket. They beat him, to a pulp. I mean, I'm looking at a picture of him here. He got beaten to a pulp, and he can't even remember half the day. Right? It was that traumatic. He doesn't. They knocked his memory loose. So it's going to keep on happening. We just saw with Nick Shirley in Cuba. They almost kidnapped him down there.
I know. He's such a hero in my book. I wish we had more Nick Shirleys.
Yeah, and he's like, I mean, he's just an average guy too, right?
Yeah,
he's just an average guy.
He's so unassuming looking, like you would never think this guy is super assertive, goes out and is tackling evil and exposing corruption. He's like a modern day superhero. But you look at him and he looks like Clark Kent. But apparently he's got this inner Superman that just keeps coming out and shaming all of us as we sit by and watch. However, he has inspired people to do the same. And he even got Dr. Oz out there in California doing some research. So we're seeing also that Kash Patel and others are talking about there's going to be some people indicted, it looks like, in Minnesota for some of the corruption. I mean, we're talking billions and billions of dollars combined, and no, they're not going to be able to get away with that. That's why they want to win the election, so they can secure their position without having to go to jail.
And some of the money went to the main terrorist organization in Somalia. What is it? Al-Shabaab? Is that the name?
That surprised me.
Yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, they got hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars apparently. And the officials in Minnesota knew about this. They let it happen. You can't tell me Keith Ellison wasn't fully aware of this entire operation the whole time. I'd be shocked if he had no idea this was happening.
Of course.
The Attorney General of the state didn't know.
Well, come on. I mean, we're finding out exactly how the corrupt elements operate within our government, mostly on the left, the far left, is they fund the very people that they're supposedly trying to expose. That 11 indictments went down on Southern Poverty Law Center, and they were funding Nazis. They were making sure that this, kind of things happen, that terrorist acts happen, or, at least that they look like they're radicalized and could happen. I mean, everything is a false flag, folks. It's a false flag, man. And I use that in a very loose term, a false flag. And I just mean simply that most of what you're seeing, if it's coming from the right, is not organic. That's staged, just like the Patriot Front was staged. They put agent provocateurs into crowds. They did that in Canada during the truckers' strike. They put all these so-called white supremacist Nazis in there, and then they made sure that the cameras focused in on them, and they were probably agent provocateurs. This has been recorded and documented for decades, man. And the agent provocateurs are there to actually incite violence and then make the peaceful protesters look bad.
Yeah. or drag them into something that gets bigger and bigger. You know, like they do that with BLM all the time, where they have these Antifa dudes out in front that will break the windows to the stores. And then all the BLM crowd just rolls up on there. And guess what? You know, the shoe store right on the corner, is the windows are all busted out. And there's like $1 million worth of Nikes just sitting there waiting to be taken. And guess what happens? They walk in there and take them, of course, because that was all set up for them. You know, the TV store on the corner, boom, break the window out. Now you got a bunch of free TVs for everyone. And, you know, the window's open, go grab one. Everyone else is grabbing them. Why not? So, you know, it's just like you say, it's created. They create a lot of these things. And it's really to the detriment of the people of the United States. It's disgusting. You know, they're just at war with Americans.
Yeah. Well,
they want us broken.
We're the enemy. We, the people, have become the enemy. That's the problem. They see us as a threat to what they want to usher in. They want to do away with, you know, America as we've known it. And that's just unacceptable. We're not going to allow that to happen peacefully. We're not going to allow that to happen.
There you go.
And if you got it, go look up Operation Northwoods, folks. Go look it up. Our government wanted to stage all kinds of events. And of course, John F. Kennedy, because he had integrity, and guess where he ended up? 6 foot under. You know, he wouldn't sign off on it. He would not sign. McNamara brought it before him, if my memory serves correctly, and he would not sign off on these false flag events. They wanted to kill American citizens even. They wanted to have justification. I believe it was to go to war with Cuba, if my memory serves me correctly. But go look up Operation Northwoods, this kind of thing. It's not America. It's every nation has done this. False flags have been going on forever. Hitler used them. Canada uses all kinds of false flag operations. It's standard operating procedure for governments because they, at some point in time, they turned evil. You know what I'm saying? And not everybody in government is evil, but these are black operations that are done under the table where nobody knows about. We only know about Operations Northwoods because it got declassified and because it never happened. Had it happened, we probably wouldn't have got it declassified. And we have John Kennedy to thank for that because he was actually a Democrat that was actually a person of some integrity. He's like, no, we're not going to do that. That's insane.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. And I'll tell you what, they can't do it without a complicit media. And on that note, a complicit media, 60 Minutes the other night did a Leslie Stahl hosted a segment about disaster tourists. Okay. And this is 60 Minutes posting on X. This is word for word. Ready? After natural disasters, white nationalists, militias, and conspiracists often arrive offering help, but they also want to recruit and improve their image. Watch 60 Minutes for the full report. So they're saying that like the Cajun Navy and all these different groups that go in and help down in, what was it, the hurricane down in South Carolina? Right? They're just white supremacists that are going to go in there and help you rebuild, and then they're only doing it as a way to recruit you into their white supremacist evil empire. It is the most insulting thing I've ever seen. They're pointing to Amish families that have been down there building homes for 550 days now. You know?
Yeah.
They're not white supremacists. They're just Amish people down there working for free for nearly 2 years to help people rebuild.
Yeah,
it's
they are the enemy. They're the enemy of the state. The media, the fake news media, is the enemy of the state. And what's happened is they've consolidated power. The media has to just a few, major corporations, and they all work together in conjunction and in tandem to further their agenda. But that agenda is not for us, man. It's for them to gobble up more power and to further enslave us. And only reason we're at this point now with Trump is because we've pushed back. We fought back peacefully and civilly, legally, lawfully. And that's why we're at the place we're at now. But I think that the dark side of the force, so to speak, is going to go to new levels, man. And that's why I think the cyber pandemic is a real threat right now. So if it happens, I say question whatever the official narrative is, because I believe the official narrative will be an outright lie.
Yeah. And remember, it came out afterwards that it turned out FEMA had instructed people to avoid homes with any kind of MAGA, signs out front. You know what I mean? If it had a Donald Trump sticker on their car, just avoid that house.
Right.
They intentionally avoided Republican homes. And then they blame anybody who comes out and tries to help people. It's so corrupt, man. It's so corrupt when you see a report like that FEMA actually told people to avoid anybody that looked like they might be a supporter of Donald Trump's home. Yeah. Disgusting. And that actually came out. That was a thing. Heck, if you walked up to a house and you saw an American flag, you might just keep going because, boy, boogie, 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 oogie, woogie. It's an American flag. They must like Trump. They must be Americans. Ooh, we don't want to help them.
Yeah, I remember the left did all kinds of articles saying, when you see people with the flag outside of their front, you should be, possibly terrified, and here's why. And, I mean, these people just hate America. That's the bottom line. I got to tell you, folks, you need to wake up. If you haven't taken the red pill yet, you need to take it and take a look at what's really happening, because it's far worse than what you probably think. If you're just a normie and you're clueless and you don't know what's really happening, it's way worse than you think.
Yeah, it's everything you thought it was and more. It really is. It's scary stuff, man. And, all we're doing is trying to report on it so everybody can just be aware of it, so you can vote the stuff down. It's really, truly an option when you look at the ballot between the Republican Party, who just really, they suck, but at the most part, they're just trying to keep everything the way it is. If you woke up today and you thought today was fine, okay, there you go. That's your party. If you want to fundamentally change and progress towards something completely different, vote for a progressive. Don't ask them what they want to progress to. Just know that they're a progressive and they'll change everything. Maybe for the better, maybe for much, much worse. Most likely for much, much worse, considerably worse. Go ahead and vote that way, man. It's just the way it is. I don't know. Last article we can probably bring up is it looks like Trump is definitely make moves to rename Immigration and Customs Informants into the National Immigration and Custom Enforcement, i.e. NICE. Nice. Instead of ICE, it'll be NICE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why not?
Some people came knocking on your door today, Rodriguez, and they looked really nice.
Yeah.
You weren't home, but I told them to come back later. Yeah.
Pretty nice as long as you're not breaking the law.
Yeah, they were nice. Nothing to worry about. Very nice people.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, hey, just don't obstruct. Don't get in their way. Let them do their job to protect us and keep us safe and the streets safe, and everything will be grand.
And I think this hits on something that maybe Brent and I were talking about. Some of his disdain maybe towards Trump is this trolling that goes on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is immature. It is childish. It is foolish to rename ICE into NICE. to get the opponents to, whatever. I don't care. I think it's funny.
I think it's funny too. I'm laughing.
Yeah.
I got no problem with it.
If you control them and make them cry and we can drink their liberal tears, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we make liberals cry again 2026. It probably wouldn't be a cry. It'd be more like a scream from all the lunatic leftists that I've seen on X. When they lose, they don't cry. They lose their marbles. They scream, they shout, their eyeballs pop out. They smoke out of their ears. It's pretty dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Now, we've got about a minute and a half left, Barry. Is there any last thing you wanted to touch on before we end the show here?
Yeah, I would just say that figuratively speaking, we are headed towards a collision. This is going to be a massive collision, and one side is going to rise out of the dust and the ashes as the victor, not necessarily the final victor. This is just one moment where the two worlds are colliding. This will probably happen multiple times before we have our ultimate victory, but we are moving towards a collision course right now where basically good and evil are about to just collide, and it is going to be a massive tremor from that. And out of that, one side is going to gain some more ground. And so just be ready for that. Another collision is coming. And like I said at the very beginning of the year, things are going to move rapidly. Things are going to move fast. We're going to have rapid change. We're going to have lots of struggles, but we're also going to have lots of victories. I stick to that. I believe that's pretty much what's happening now and will continue to happen throughout the rest of the year. And you can find me over on X, Bullhorn Barry.
I was just going to ask you where people can find you. Over on X, Bullhorn Barry, and you're blowing up over there. You're getting, I thought I saw Elon poke you the other day.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he is, yeah. Now, I've been poking him a little bit because he keeps talking about, we're going to Mars and the moon and how great it's going to be, and we're going to colonize. I'm like, I don't think that sounds too great to me.
I heard somewhere that he's got like, I don't know, $1 trillion bonus if he can put 1 million people on Mars by like, I don't know, some crazy amount of years out in the future. So basically in his lifetime, 1 million person colony on Mars.
Maybe all the murderers, pedophiles, rapists, multiple murderers, rapists, and pedophiles.
Make it a jail like Australia. I love it. But anyway, folks, we are out of time. We'll be right back with more from our producer, Dagus Productions, right after these messages. Otherwise, we will see you on Sunday night. Take care. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. If you missed any of tonight's show, you can find it and others in our archives. Thanks again, and you can catch us next week for another brand new show.